Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also, below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy, and this is of particular note if you drive an electric vehicle. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by Chocolate Saying, Neil, Refracted Curvature, 10th Man, Righteous Force, Eli, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome, one and all.
Good morning, good morning.
And Darwin.
Good morning.
Hello.
Very good to have you all. Good stuff.
Hello. Good
Hello.
afternoon.
Hello. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
No, they're going to need R for that. They don't even have a radius, so forget that.
You mean the one that we wouldn't expect to see, even though it's claimed that we see it and it blocks boats and buildings and stuff from the distance?
Yeah.
That one?
Yeah, so shout out to Mitchell from Australia. Gets a lot of love at the moment from us. So in his most recent live stream, he takes a Glober claim of basically Al-Biruni and its geometric physical obstruction and its acquisition of tangent points and use of trig to derive R. That would be utilization of Muppet Vision geometry with an Earth sphere obstruction, as claimed by the globe. So he's just in line with the globe claim. What Mitchell then does is present what we have here. Literally, he's taken some of my videos that I've trimmed out. Various people saying the horizon's not Earth curve. In other words, anti-flat earthers. Not flat earthers, anti-flat earthers who go and claim that they're globe believers. They're not. They're anti-flat earthers. Telling us how non-geometric the horizon is, how we wouldn't expect to see geometry, how nobody's claiming the horizon is Earth curve, and the Earth curve that is the geometric horizon only exists in the maths. These are the declarations of anti-flat earthers to us, flat earthers. So that guy, the normie, whatever his name was, I don't know who he was, but the guy that Mitchell from Australia had chosen to take apart, he's using him in a very clever way to show the anti-flat earthers, here's what you really claim, while you all deny it. Here's a normie dick saying, here's Earth curve, it's the horizon. And he makes it explicitly clear. The way I'm going to challenge these idiot flat earthers who won't even watch this video to the end is by starting with the horizon. Here's how Al-Biruni used that horizon as a geometric edge to derive R. Oh, really? Well, what about all the people on the anti-flat Earth side who have been presented with the Black Swan argument telling us how non-geometric that horizon is? How we wouldn't expect to see that geometry you're using to get an R value, Mr. Clever Clogs. Yeah, well done, Mitch. Very well juxtaposed. I really appreciated that video. I thought it was very clever. As Mitch is, he's good at doing these sorts of things. Explaining to your anti-flat earther how your original claim's being defied when you tell us we can't see Earth curve. Because you'll need to see Earth curve.
That's the best part when a normie jumps into this conversation at this point, when you tell them, you know, your side is claiming that we don't see this thing that you guys claim to see. Like the very thing that you're saying we see, that blocks boats and buildings, your side is telling us we currently don't see it. And we wouldn't even expect to see it on top of that.
Wait a minute.
So how does that work?
Wait a minute, Chocolate. Are you saying I can't claim something unless I see it?
If you claim that it's something visible, then yeah, you should be able to see it. That would make sense, yes. But
So when they say the Earth is turning, but I don't sense I'm turning, when they say the Earth has curvature and they don't sense any curvature? How did they get away with that?
Well, even if you didn't sense it, if you could at least see it, being that it's claimed to be seen, then that would be something, right? You'd have something to work with, but you don't even have that. So
Yeah, but
where do you
his
start?
question was, how do they get away with it? The way they get away with it is by making the claim in the first instance that we should see a horizon blocking things because it's Earth curve. Then we step in and point out that the horizon isn't Earth curve and how the Black Swan debunks the geometry claimed to prove the Earth curve is presented by the horizon. This is where they get away with it. People who are then left in cognitive dissonance because the horizon isn't Earth curve and we've proved it, have to tell us, quote, we wouldn't expect to see Earth curve at the horizon. In other words, they jump into cognitive dissonance on behalf of the claim that has failed. Therefore, the claim that has failed and its claimant doesn't have to defend anything. Some tosspot will come along and make a new claim. We wouldn't expect to see Earth curve that's claimed to be the geometry of the Earth curve getting in the way of these boats and buildings. We wouldn't expect to see that. And you go, right, so should we, as anti-flat earthers, move forward, fighting for the globe and how we should see Earth curve edge horizons? Or should we take a new position and just fight with flat earthers who claim that you can't see it and prove that you can't by telling them what we wouldn't expect to? Same with
So wait a
axial
minute,
rotation. We're supposed to see 15 degrees an hour drift, claims the globe. Flat Earth steps in and shows how we don't see 15 degrees an hour drift, and anti-flat Earth steps in on their behalf and says we wouldn't expect to see the drift the globe claims. And so it goes on. That's how they get away with it.
Well, that was a perfect summary, Nathan. I wonder if we should have a show only open to people who believe it's a globe, and only they should show up, because the anti-flat earthers don't.
Oh, well, yeah, they're all scared because they get here and end up having the original claim put to them as they try to weasel away from it. They try and reposition their claim and don't get away with it. So they just don't come here, you know, unless they're begging the question. What's going on, Eli? Causing chaos. So yeah, they need to go somewhere where they can get away with begging the question and using their explanation from within the assumption that we're on a sphere at the beginning of the explanation. And we don't allow that. So if they're not allowed to do that, and they're not allowed to reposition their claims from their actual claim to their new we won't see the claim that's originally made by the globe position, again, they won't want to come here for that. So yeah, I mean, the door's open to anybody. You could be a concaver and still walk through the door. But ultimately, the people we get on, or used to get, because they're now terrified of us, were anti-flat earthers, telling us that we just don't understand the globe position and then giving us a new position that flies in the face of the original globe claim and asking us to defend and argue about their new claim of we wouldn't expect to see the thing the globe claims, let's argue about that instead. They don't get away with it, so they don't come here.
Those are great words. Why are they not able to defend the original globe claim?
Because we debunked it.
Yep.
And there's something interesting, like recently in Discord, we've seen a new Glober show up and an anti-flat earther, and they were going at each other because the new Glober thought he was a flat earther, right?
Yeah. Oh, isn't that interesting? So, yeah, I predicted that would happen. I called that. I'd like to say that that was me who called that that would happen in time. Eventually, you'll reach the point where the anti-flat Earth rebuttal to the flat Earth debunking of the globe claim is so far away from the original globe claim that some normie comes along and starts arguing about how he should see Earth curve at the horizon, and the anti-flat Earther tells him he's wrong.
Right.
See, I told you they got things to square up between themselves before they can even step to us out here. Are you
Exactly. Yeah, so ultimately, anti-flat earthers, this is Red Rhetoric, Simon, Dan, Flurf, Spective, Cats, all of you. All you're actually doing is going against the original globe claim and then having to correct people on their correct rhetoric. Why? Well, because your correct rhetoric that the globe states has been debunked by flat earthers, so you need to reposition your claim to our new anti-flat earth claim. That makes no sense, isn't in line with the globe, but it definitely goes against the flat earthers, bastards.
Chocolate, don't use that word square up. They don't have any straight lines, please.
Speaking of which, any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
We wouldn't expect
I
to
was
see.
waiting.
Go, Eli, go.
I just wanted to say that they straight up lied. Now, mind you, Flat earthers have to deal with random strangers who are socially awkward on the internet, call them liars because they say, yeah, the earth is flat because there's no evidence of the globe. But they have such a trigger response because they're watching the Sideman dance. And the bottom line is, when the anti-flat earthers say you don't expect to see it, they're straight up lying. Why? Because one example is of CFI investigators and um, partnering up with National Geographic with a bunch of flat earthers and globe earthers, and they said, hey, the camera height is next to the eye level, so the horizon is 1.2 miles away. This is where we should see the boat begin to disappear from the bottom up. So everyone who believes in a globe is under the impression that the horizon is definitely a consequence of the geometric plane of the globe.
When
So
you
they're just
say when you say it would begin to disappear, that would mean because it would be blocked by something physical, right?
exactly.
That's funny. So now this thing that's supposed to block things like that, we're just not expected to see it. Not only do we not see it, why would you expect to see that?
I just want to clarify at this point for the audience's benefit that the it that Chocolate is talking about is Earth curve.
Yes.
We don't expect to see Earth curve. That's what we're told by anti-flat earthers.
Well, if you're a glober, you think you measure Earth curve with a dip angle measurement, and you derive the geometry of Earth from that.
Any evidence of the R value, Earth radius?
Well, you would, if you believed you live on a globe, you would say that have a zenith above your head, and that your line of sight, a 90 from that zenith, would lead out into the distance, and from that arbitrary line to the horizon would be a dip angle that you could derive geometry from.
Yeah, maybe that needs stressing to people. That your start, middle, and end of argument for a globe is with an R value that you haven't got anymore. You need physical geometry to be able to get it. And the fact that you haven't got physical geometry to get R doesn't just mean that we've debunked some mathematical value at 3959. It means that there is no basis to assume a sphere in the first place. So while all of the arguments start with the assumption of a sphere Earth, there's no justifiable reason to do that because you can't derive anything to give you the measurement. It's not capable of deriving a spherical measurement. Earth is not a sphere. It has no R value. You can't get an R value, and the methodology claimed to derive an R value has been debunked by the Black Swan. What's left?
Well, this is why the sextant argument is so devastating because, because on the surface of the Earth, in their model, their presupposition of a sphere, that's a curved line, and you can't get an angle off a curved line. So it's over right there.
Yeah, you haven't got a curved
also
adjacent.
Positive claim.
Yeah, you can't get a curved adjacent. Copyright Nathan Oakley, 1980.
But there's also a positive claim in the sextant too. You know, the calculations and stuff you use to reach your destination require a flat plane to work. But the fact that you actually reach that destination is proof that it's flat.
Yeah, I think it was
Well,
yesterday you guys were discussing some excerpt from, I can't remember if it was Andrew Thomas Young or someone who was doing mapping. I can't remember who it was. But they're basically saying we've got to embrace the fiction in our quote-unquote
science.
In our science, right. Well, when the former part of that paragraph stated that there are certain things that we can appreciate and measure, and there are certain things that we just can't, and understanding the difference is the way we need to understand our reality. And then John piped up and said, well, we can take that as read, and we can measure Earth flat and navigate it as flat, and it succeeds. So based on that You can only then take that forward with assumptions that you cannot measure and say that they're your reality if you embrace the fiction in your quasi-science. Earth's
let's
flat.
not lose. Yeah, that's why the horizon is always at 0. If the horizon is 0 and the highest point is above the observer, 90, and this is all they talk about is 0 to 90, 0 to 90. Well, what does that tell you? That's a right angle. You can have a right angle on a curved surface.
Okay, I want to rattle through the rest of the housekeeping questions because there's a bit of admin I want to deal with. Any evidence, any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
If I was a heliocentrist in that field, I would probably incorporate R in any hypothesis I tried to formulate.
Correct, with all disclaimers. Yeah, bang on. No need to summarise it further. Perfect. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
What is it?
Nope.
107-year out-of-date mass attracting mass, or more recently, 107 years ago, the concept that we have a fourth dimensional time element, and that is bending.
Okay, but
Bending
what,
Still
around
not
what?
clear on what the phenomenon is.
I know I didn't
Right.
mention phenomena. There is no phenomena. The 107-year out-of-date claim that mass attracts mass is debunked by gas behaviour. Mass doesn't attract mass. In their claim, gas has mass, and so does Earth. Therefore, gas should move to the centre of the mass of Earth because it's much, much smaller, therefore much more affected by this. And it isn't. It expands in all directions. It was superseded anyway 107 years ago. Nearly 106, but nearly 107 years ago by Einstein, who claimed in the maths that we are in a fourth dimensional space-time reality. We're not. That's just a mathematical idea that was dreamt up in the idea of Einstein in his head. Absolutely nothing to do with natural occurring phenomena and everything to do with a mathematical description of what he says is being described by his maths with fourth dimensional space-time, bending, and then following paths of geodesics to describe gravity. Well, that's, again, fourth dimensional reification isn't a natural phenomena.
But succession, though, or being superseded, implies that it's actually a replacement. But it isn't really, because it only gave you a completely virtual concept that doesn't even claim to have any provable ties in physical reality.
If
So-
anything, it's taking it further away to make it easier on the mathematicians when they reify their reality. Well, if you've got something that could be physically described as a phenomena, that would be mass attracting mass, and someone says, hang on, mass doesn't attract mass, then you've got a bit of a problem. So best to relinquish yourself of that. Supersede something that is based in physical reality, keep it around in the education system, and then describe the actual phenomena, or correct people in the higher education when they get there, that it's actually bending geodesics in space-time. But prior to that, leave them with the original out-of-date notion that you've actually got a force pulling things. Well, that's a useful magic trick. Keep the old dusty, superseded, out-of-date around, whilst the new, non-physical description reigns supreme. Not true either, we've got quantum mechanics now, but in this description for heliocentrists, Einstein reigns supreme. But not if you need a
Alright.
force to assert. Now, when you say one superseding the other is silly because presumably none are real, it's like saying, well, dragons were superseded by unicorns in terms of their useful nature in fairy tales. Okay, so one superseding the other and having more unicorns prevalent in kids' stories than dragons in older stories doesn't make either of them real. Likewise, mass attracting mass and Newtonian mechanics and Einstein's bending for space-time, neither are real. The one superseding the other, who cares? Right, Arwin?
Yes, but I'm getting semantic. I just say that while superseding is almost deceptive, it's more like a succession in the storytelling tradition. Who's the story taking over right now? Because like superseding would almost imply that it's actually better. like more real, more proven, and it isn't. Quite the contrary.
If
So-
when
so-
I drop, sorry, Nathan.
Oh, well, I could say, obviously, if anyone's familiar with He-Man, you've got various aspects of travel being utilised with the Sword of Eternia, and they can literally teleport themselves around. Its magic is so strong. Well, in more recent She-Ra episodes, they literally use a spaceship and travel around in a heliocentric system. So technically speaking, an Ethereum, I think that's the right term, spaceship from the first ones.
Eternian.
Eternian, there you go. An Eternian spaceship superseded the magic of the sword's teleportation ability. Okay, so it's technically a worse method. Takes a lot longer and breaks down a lot. And isn't instantaneous. But ultimately speaking, neither are real. So does it matter that
Yes.
the new hotness of intergalactic bullshit travel through sky vacuums and planets and galaxies, all nonsense, fairy tales, is better to be done by way of teleportation with a sword or done by way of clunky old spaceship? Well,
I totally agree. I don't know why they would abandon that other than just to spur interest for it. Because look, now we have to sit in some kind of a object that's going through a vacuum. The hazards are incredible. You could get lost. You could get destroyed. Who's gonna rescue you when you're downed in a vacuum? Like when you still had the sword, you could just teleport straight from safe location to safe location. And other than like the occupational hazard of the people living there, you don't have any danger. So it seems kind of pointless to abandon the sword teleportation system and trade it off for a much more hazardous space travel system.
Right. What are you going to do? Anyway, that series, She-Ra, was absolutely epic for the first 2/3 of it. I think it's DreamWorks that made it. It was superb. And then about halfway to 2/3 of the way in, it descended into homosexual and lesbian connotations throughout 50% to 100% of the entire show. As the show progressed, it got more and more overt, to the point where literally you've got two women princess characters married, two dads for the main and pretty much only male character in in the good guy side of the argument, if you want.
Wow.
And the main character falling in love with the evil bad guy that had fallen out with her as a child when they were playing together, and they were in love towards the end, both female characters. So it descended in towards the end, and I was just like, around the point my daughter lost interest. So about 2/3 of the way, halfway in, my daughter lost complete interest, and I was like, well, I want to still see the series out. That's a lot of S's. And like I say, descended into LGBTQ and woke nonsense for the rest of the duration, and space, as I just mentioned. So about 2/3 of the way in, they found a spaceship, and then the rest of the entire series was set in space. And they substituted the bad guy, for his clone, almost identical brother with the same voice and almost the same character, but in space. Substitute one character for the other.
So they all went to space, and then they turned gay. That makes
no,
sense
well,
to me.
It was very much the hints at that were there throughout the whole series. So I don't want to make it sound like it suddenly went gay, but it got far more overt at about the halfway mark when they introduced the guy with the heart on his chest is called Bo, because he's got a bow and arrow. And then they introduce his two dads at the library that they run, and they're both kind of namby-pamby gays. They're not like strong butch. They're then again, that's probably just as bad for the gay side of it.
It's called sissies.
Yes, if you want, whatever. They weren't like fighters like the female characters. Now that's fine in terms of if you flip the script to He-Man. I can't believe we're talking about this, but I love it. Why not? Well, it was the reverse, right? There was very few female strong characters, and you could have the exact same objections put across from women, which is probably the entire purpose of this, right? It blatantly mirrors the male-led cartoons of the 80s. It mirrors them, but it takes it a step too far at about the 2/3 way mark of the series, and it's you never saw He-Man snogging Man-at-Arms. That didn't happen. There we go.
Only in fanfics did that happen in the original.
There was a strong female in He-Man. He had his female counterpart, and she had a big sword.
Teela.
Yeah, Teela.
She-Ra.
Was, yeah.
Teela.
She-Ra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She-Ra.
And then you had the sorceress. Oh yeah, I came back and
Yeah.
talk about He-Man. This is cool.
It was pretty cool. Right. Well, it's the old cartoon. It's like, yeah, it could have been gay, but it didn't really act like that. It kind of left it open, but apparently with the new series, like they totally roll it in there. Ugh.
Yeah, that's just modern TV. I mean, it partially affirmed why I'd got rid of TV in the first place, because you hold out hope, and then a friend of my wife's has got a Netflix account, and if anybody's got Netflix, they're probably well aware of this. You've got multiple accounts that you can stand out to your mates and family and stuff. So essentially, we've been offered free Netflix. Well, okay, fine, yeah, great. Stick it on every so often when he's paid his bill, and we'll watch a couple of things on it. And one of them was She-Ra. And you're like, okay, started great, hooks you right in. Before you know it, lesbians in space.
Make perfect sense to me. When you go to space, you become gay, so that makes sense.
That's not what I'm suggesting.
It's
Please
what
don't
I'm
demonetize
suggesting.
me.
Space is the imagination. It's where anything can happen, right? It's the imagination of those who talk about it. So yeah, why not?
Out of curiosity, which do you have a bigger problem with, the lesbians or the space?
I don't particularly have a problem with either, except for when it's aimed at my 5-year-old daughter.
Fair enough.
Right. And
like I
the
always say, space
spaceships
is
have
fake
nothing
and
to
gay.
do with it, with like it's a planet or a realm-bound series. It always was. You go on the realm with natural scenarios and beautiful landscape, kind of fantasy style. And maybe somebody has some like techno gun installed in their arm or whatever, but never too much beyond that. It was never about spaceships, right? Never really.
Space is
Like,
fake
come
and
on, they
gay.
had riding animals. Riding animals and spaceships don't mix.
Okay, the reason we were on this subject and the reason we got to He-Man is because of a juxtaposition between old and busted Newtonian gravity and the new hotness that is Einsteinian fourth dimensional space-time. And saying, well, when you supersede one and replace it with the other, even if people aren't aware that you're taking something from the physical and putting it into the non-physical mathematical abstract to get around the fact that you don't have a phenomena, if you ignore the fact that most people won't be aware of that, there's just this idea left that one has replaced or superseded the other, therefore must be better. So, okay, is the travel type better when you've got a spaceship versus teleportation from a sword? I only use that as a vague example. I can't even remember if He-Man actually did teleport with the sword. Probably. At some point, the sword did everything.
It could have been a teleportation pad or anything, Magical things did happen like that, so... Or
Indeed.
Orko did it or something with some special spell,
Okay.
Well, gravity is...
Go on, John. I heard gravity, or was it Brian?
Well, yeah, I was going to say gravity is, was designed by, or it was a concept that was man created to justify why they live on a ball they thought they measured.
Yeah.
Without the ball, there's no need for gravity.
Absolutely correct. And, as it's been invented as a plaster to solve a problem, it's been expanded out into a universal plaster that you can put on any globe wound. So, normally, there's a 50-50 chance that any argument you have with any baller will descend into them claiming, well, gravity is the answer.
Well, what I was going to say earlier is when I drop my phone and it falls to the floor, if that was due to a force of gravity, then the air it's falling through shouldn't be there. It's that simple. And I'd say they kind of got to that point, that's why Einstein was so easily accepted. Because it got to that point where, well, look, lads, if I drop this, it's falling through that. It's falling through gas. And if that's falling to the floor due to a force of attraction to the bigger mass, how come this gas is not welded to the floor as well? So that's the end of that. I'd say it was like if there was any group of thinking people at the time, I'd say if there was any small group of thinking people, I'd say that conversation lasted about 2 minutes, and they all was like, yeah, that doesn't happen. That gravity as a force can't be real. I'd say it just was over in a very short space of time.
The evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth.
Nonsense.
Nope.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Nope.
Well, it doesn't change in its apparent size as it moves across the sky.
Why doesn't the Glober in Discord have any responses to these things?
What Glober in Discord? That's one of the admin things I want to get to.
The one that spoke earlier.
Yeah, extremists.
Premises. I know that voice. Come on, man. You're a Glober. Surely you
I have
can't
nothing
just
to
sit
say.
here
I
listening
have
to
nothing to
these
contribute.
Says
questions.
he has nothing to say. Any evidence that we have gas pressure without a container?
Nah.
Well, he had
You need a
something to say
container
a
to
minute
register
ago.
gas pressure.
Hold on, 10th or Chaos, whoever.
Go ahead, chaos, since you caused chaos.
I don't cause chaos.
Yeah, what did you
Well,
want
I'd
to...
say you need a container. You need a container to register pressure.
Yeah.
I mean, I like your name, Chaos. Don't you cause chaos when you ask good questions?
Oh, I could.
I'll agree because that statement right there would cause chaos with all the Globers. Just ask your Glober friends. Oh, you need a container for pressure? That's weird because they claim that we don't need a container. Except that when they want to prove it, they bring out 2 containers to prove that we don't need a container. Isn't that funny?
Or they
Well, if you
start to
put
bring
a-
up a vacuum.
It's easy, guys. If you
Oh,
put a
but
container
things in
on
a
both
vacuum
sides,
way more and this and that,
Can you have a vacuum without a container?
No.
Oh, look at that.
Or temperature.
see that's all you got to do is put a container on both sides of the equation, and then you can eliminate it from the equation, and then you don't need a container because math.
I see, so 2 wrongs make a right. Excellent.
Yeah, I got something for chaos. Chaos, you remember Get Smart, the show?
Say that again?
You
Well,
remember watching Get Smart, the show?
No, I don't.
That's before
Okay.
his time. He's not that old.
All right. Well, if you look up, if you watch anything about Get Smart, Chaos was the enemy's name. And whenever Maxwell Smart and Chief would want to talk in secret, they had to get a dome of silence on them. So you know where I'm going with this. You need a dome of silence to keep the chaos out, but not our chaos.
okay, I'm going to do a couple of announcements. That's the end of housekeeping. Thank you very much. That concludes the housekeeping. However, I'm going to do a couple of quick appeals, although it's not going to be an e-begging appeal. I'm sure you're all sick of me e-begging for money, although we'll probably end up doing a GoFundMe after all of this when I get my bills for my amp and my projector. So, you know, as much as I've said, smash the PayPal link, and a few people have, to be fair, and it has helped, but unfortunately I was e-begging before the projector and amp broke because I was having a crappy month last month, which is going to be the case for a few more months, but that's why I'm not going to e-beg on this particular occasion for you to smash the PayPal link. But if you did want to, feel free. I'm actually going to be appealing for you to share the show. So there's 111 people watching right at this moment. And the only reason there is 111 people watching is because the people who are regulars, the members, people who I appeal to when I say please share the show in the intro, actually do share the show. So that is why the audience is as large as it is. Potentially there could be a lot less live audience members because this show doesn't reach as many people as it potentially could. I know from my statistics, there's a specific statistic in terms of the amount of exposure the video gets and where it's being picked up from. So based on that, I know that the audience I have got, I should be and am very grateful to the people who actually smash the share button, and you are appreciated. I know I spend more time appealing to smash the the share button than I do thanking you for doing so. But this is my opportunity, hence a little bit of admin that I wanted to rattle through the housekeeping to get to say first and foremost, Thank you to everyone who shares the show. That is the only reason we've got a reasonable audience, over 100 people watching. And if you don't typically share the show, share the show. It's nice and calm. It tends to be a bit less sweary when there's less fundies interrupting us, and the information gets a bit more concise and is therefore easier to digest. And we've got a very adept panel presenting the globe Earth arguments as concisely as possible, and indeed the anti-flat Earth arguments. We've got a Baldwin, who's essentially our resident anti-flat Earther. So you get to hear both the globe presentation of what they're literally claiming, and it's easy to check and reference what we say, versus the debunking of the actual globe claim, and then the response that we would get from people on the anti-flat Earth side. That is the deviation away from the original globe claim in an attempt to debunk what we have stated. Doesn't reaffirm the globe, just is claimed to debunk what we have debunked of the globe, normally debunking the globe in the process. So you'll get all three: globe claim, anti-flat Earth claim, and flat Earth debunking from this show when it's calm. Now, I know Extremist wants to destroy that calm. I can just hear it in his voice. But at the moment, just concise. That's, you could take this first section of the show, the first half an hour, and pass it on to a friend, share it, and say, here you go. Here's a concise summary of flat Earth. The housekeeping questions do that every time they're answered in the way that they have been today. That is all. Please share the show.
I got a follow-up question to your statement there. If extremist is a baller, which I take he is, he would want to come on your show and prove the ball. But by him being here and listening all the time, and in the past he has said like he's busy doing something, he's just in the listening mode, that just says that up to this point, at least, he doesn't have anything to refute the arguments that we're presenting. Would that be right, extremist?
Yes, you're right.
Thank you.
I have nothing that will convince you guys of the globe.
Well, thank you. Because we're desperately seeking some proof for it, because 99% of the world believes they're on the globe.
Right, and at this stage, I don't care why he thinks he's on a globe. So, what use is he? He's saying, I can't convince you're on a globe, but that tells me enough. It tells me that he feels we need convincing.
It tells me something else. He's got no proof to prove it.
Right, so we're not unjustified in our seats here. Okay? That's why he's perfectly tolerated. Why wouldn't he be? Tolerable, that's the one.
No, actually, he's got a front row seat because he's seen the ones that come and they get totally blasted because they have nothing to hang their hat on. And he's saying, you know what? I believe in a globe, but if I go on that show, I'm going to get blasted. So I'll just sit here and just see where I can spot a weakness. So let us know when you can spot a weakness, will you?
Oh, he would have already if he could.
Yeah, they
About to
have
answer.
this. Let
Hello?
me just sit
He was
here
about to answer. God, you're so rude. It wasn't rhetorical. Right, it was rhetorical. But, at least let him respond.
I said I will do that, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I was just going to say that they have this attitude where they pretend, oh, yeah, right, nothing that I show you, a flat earther, will ever prove anything. Like, so don't worry about it. No, it's fine. No, of course, we don't have any evidence. Yeah, you fucking don't.
Ain't no need for the swearing.
No.
So, welcome to Flat Earth Debate 8047. So, extremists, have you got anything that would convince us we're on a globe? No, I'll let you know when I do.
That was brilliant. Hey, I got a question. Since this is the only show, plus Mitchell and Huey's and some others that I tune in. Extremists, do you?
Eli.
Extremists, do you do this on all shows where you work and don't say anything, or are there shows that you actually say stuff on, or is it just this show?
As a general rule, I don't talk a whole lot. I mostly listen and let the other Globers handle the action, so to speak.
And based on you doing that, how has the Globers done when they're handling that action, so to speak?
It's no progress is made, no concessions are made on either side, so not very good, I guess.
So if I just isolate it to one part of many parts, for example, the sextant is an angle measuring device. You've heard enough about that, haven't you?
I have.
Okay, so to get an angle, would you say the correct answer would be two straight lines meeting a corner, creating a vertex?
Sure.
Okay, so when we say to the Glober, how do you do that on the surface that curved? Why can't you make a decision as to who won that argument?
Everybody's stubborn.
No, I'm asking you. If you know, you
That's
just
what I
said.
just said. I'm stubborn too. Everybody's stubborn.
Oh, okay. I didn't know you were personalizing. So you're stubborn in the face of facts that you, the stubborn person, already know. The only way to get a corner and a vertex is two straight lines. You know that because you just confessed it. But you're in the side of your own statement, you're going to be stubborn.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Nothing
Stop
more
for
to
your-
do.
I have a question.
on.
first.
Hold on. Let me just thank him.
Nothing
Hold
to
on.
see here. Move
Ah,
along.
let me just thank him. Thanks for your honesty. And I'm going to shout out Godzilla37. Globe defenders on this show are becoming as fictional as the globe itself. Where are they? Riding unicorns? Thank you very much indeed for the super chat. It's not true. There's one right now, Gord. But your timing normally would have been really good. Still, really appreciate the support.
And we're
have a
not
question for
stubborn, we're
extremists.
correct.
No, right, no one else is going to get this. 10th has got this fish. So 10th is going to carry on this conversation as much as he wants to.
Well, again, I want to thank him for being honest because he admitted what a vertex was, what an angle was, and then he admitted because of his stubborn belief in the globe, he's not going to let reality change his belief in the globe, even though reality proves the globe to be wrong. So I thank him for his honesty. This is the condition they're in.
I'm going to make a statement, Ken, and you correct me as you see fit. Even without the 90, you still can't win the argument simply because a zero angle is just a line. And where would you get that over a curved surface?
Well, that's a 180 is a straight angle. So you're talking about it's like 360 on the circle is also zero. It's the starting point, but it's the ending point of a circle. So 180 and zero, like once the minute you put a zenith, it becomes a 90. You got 0 to 90. But if you just had a straight line, it's a 180. So yeah, where's that on the globe?
Or to put it another way, Eli, yes.
I would like to help him with his cognition a bit.
I had a question.
Hold on. Extremists. Someone's offering to help you with your cognition. Did you want this help? Were you here to get that? I don't think so.
No, not really.
He doesn't want that, John. I don't know what to say.
So can I round it off with him?
We'll come back to this in a second, John. Go ahead, 10th.
Okay, so extremists, I want to thank you for being honest, number one, and I do truly mean that. But as a caring person, I'm still concerned for you. Here's why. You admitted that with your faculties in place, what an angle is. But then you admitted that you refuse to believe your own statement. Why is that?
Because I'm just humoring you. I'm just telling you what you want to know and what you want to hear.
Oh, so you're being dishonest see, I'm being very honest with you.
See,
and
that
I'm
shit pisses me off.
Excuse me. I'm being honest with you. I'm not playing around. I actually do care about every conversation I have with people. Are you saying all this time you're playing the part and you're being dishonest then?
I'm saying I'm telling you what you want to hear because I don't really want to get into
playing
discussion.
a part. Well, how do you know what I want to hear?
Because I've been hearing what you want to hear for the last 2 years.
Excuse me, when I ask a question, I want to hear what you believe about it. I want to hear what your statement is. That's what I want to hear. So how do you, in your position, know what I want to hear when you're wrong there again?
Can only mean that his
Okay,
position
I'm
is
wrong.
wrong.
I give up.
And he knows that.
You win.
Look, he's ducking
I
out.
quit.
No. Look. This is cognitively difficult for extremists. And I'm not being an apologist for him, but by the same token, he's made his concessions. That's it. There's no need to dig this knife in deeper. He's given you everything you could possibly want from him. But you're now saying...
No,
well,
Why not?
You're now saying, why is it that you descend into cognitive dissonance? We can, without his help, describe this process and how it is their pain. Now, when somebody's there and they're being really reasonable, giving you every concession you want, but saying, yeah, I'm just stubborn and I am going to do it. And then when you push them, they go, okay, well, I'm humouring you then. So you pushed him. No, that's not good enough. Well, you pushed him. He said he's stubborn. What do you want?
No, actually, no, that's not true. Because
No, he said we're stubborn.
Excuse me, Neil, hang on. From my point of view, right, it was addressed to me, remember? From my point of view, I thought we were having a conversation and I was talking to a reasonably honest person. It wasn't until he said what he said that I realized he was just playing around and being dishonest by humoring me. So I have a whole different attitude towards extremists at this point, because up to that point of confession from him, I thought we were having a dialogue based on honesty. Now I know every time I talk to him, it's not. So from this point on, I'll go with what you said, Nathan. But prior to that, I actually thought I had a real human being on the other end with a real conversation. I really did.
You did, and he was honest. But there came a point when you
That's
pushed.
why
that he
QE
has
treats
to-
him that way.
There came a point when you pushed where what you're asking him to do is give up his worldview. Now, he's made it clear that he's not going to do that. He's still here, he's still listening, right? And he's calm. So I'm going to defend him in this regard and say, no. He's given you everything you want. And when push comes to shove, he's going to say, okay, fine, I'm humouring you. Well, okay, that's got negative connotations that will potentially be argued about. Well, that's a successful subversion away from him having to concede his entire worldview. So that's a self-defense mechanism as far as I'm concerned. Now, this might descend into an argument about whether or not he's been lying to us when he says he's humouring us. Up until that point, I think he was actually being quite honest with this. And when it gets to the point that he's actually got what he said, well, I don't want to get into it. Well, what's getting into it? Getting into it is him relinquishing his worldview that he doesn't want to do. Well, I'm not here to do that.
No, I think you're wrong here, Nathan.
That's actually
Can
correct.
I ask him a question?
No, I'll round it off.
What,
here.
we got to get in the queue then.
Okay,
Okay, let's
round it off. You
10th
guys
round
can-
out, and then, we'll probably just shut down if everyone else piles in. But go ahead, 10th.
Well, again, I wasn't pushing him. See, again, people are trying to figure out my motives. I'm going based on his words. And until I know someone's goofing around, I don't think they're goofing around. Once I found out he's goofing around, then it's useless. But that didn't happen until he told me he was goofing around. So up to that point, words mean things.
Yeah, well, what we've got left of the globe is a big, massive pile of dog shit. And out of that dog shit, every so often, blossoms a beautiful flower. And if we're not careful, we'll all smash that flower into pieces. Now, that rose growing out of that pile of shit isn't going to stay there for very long if we all pile in on top of it. Yeah? Now, bearing in mind, there's very few roses that sprout out of that pile of crap at the moment. So this beautiful rose that is extremists, we have to be gentle with them. You've got to be careful with these anti-flat earthers. They're very scared of us. You scare them off very easily.
Actually, I'm a farmer. He's more like a weed. Anyway, someone else.
Now you guys talk about how you're on the ground. Now you guys talk about how you're on the ground level and blah, blah, blah. But you're really not. Us guys in the Discord, when you go and the show ends, we're still here. We are the guys that are on the ground. We could tell you about extremists.
Oh,
and
yeah.
every
Here we
other
go.
thing
It's a rebellion, is it? Is this a mutiny?
No, we're just giving it. I'm just giving you the facts. See, you don't hang around. You leave. You go on about your day. We hang out in here with these globers and these anti-flat earthers, and we know.
Yeah, but people like me know all about that because we did that in the past. It's not something new. That's not, it's not as if you're doing
Someone
something
took the
new
bait. Hold
nowadays.
on. Who is that? Who is it? Harp.
Yeah.
Hold on.
I'm still in
Let's
the
keep it calm.
queue.
Everyone keep calm. Harp. Brian's taking the bait. You two have at it. Go right ahead.
Yeah, as if we've never been there, if I've never done that. Yeah, I don't loads of that. I don't do it anymore on purpose because I don't want to be in Discord listening to nonsense. But that's why I'm not in Discord. Not as if you're in the trenches and I was never there. Are you serious? I mean, I'm not this since 2015. I've heard every bullshit answer you can hear 20,000 times in a row.
Look, I think you'll find Brian's a major, and he's sat at the top of the hill, sipping Sancerre, watching the battle.
Yeah, that's what James
blah, 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 blah. We don't need you in here, and I don't need to hear your words anymore, to tell you the truth.
At ease, soldier. At ease.
This week, we're talking about how much shit time causes, right? I keep telling you, time causes nothing.
Getting so far away.
Hold on, Eli. Hold on. I'll just get control of them. Hold on, Harp. Hold on. Harp. Everyone's going to rumpus the crap out of this. I can tell it already. Just let Harp get to the end of his piece. Let him say his piece. Go ahead, Harp.
So we're talking, and I'm saying, so what does time cause? Nemesis spells out everything. These are the guys that we're dealing with in this Discord. They're afraid to even talk to you guys. They call you our priests. That pisses me off. They tell me I'm parroting shit that you say or shit that QE says. Couldn't be further from the truth. But you guys are literally looked at as our priests. When you say you're on the ground level fighting the grunt fight, you're not.
I agree.
We are.
No, I agree.
Well, that sounds like feelings coming from cornballs. So why are you worried about that?
Don't antagonize him. Right, yes, you are at ground level. And there's been a distinct line drawn in the last week, quite literally, where we were discussing our price, right? That was metaphorically a line being drawn. No, you're right. I don't want to spend any more time in the fucking trenches.
Can I ask extremists that question?
Right.
I know, but were you before me or was I before you, either?
Just go ahead.
I missed that, sorry.
How long do you have to spend in the trenches before you get promoted to priest? Just checking.
It's dependent upon the number of heads you hang on your wall.
We not mix metaphors. Oh God! Right, if we're going to talk about the priesthood, right, we need there to be vicars. If it's going to be army related, then we need soldiers and majors and all the rest of it.
You have chaplains in the army.
What? I just wanted to say that like some of us flat earthers act like we don't know how people behave. So, like for instance, when someone is ignorant on a subject, but they want to be a part of the conversation, or maybe they're intimidated and don't want to be a part of the conversation, but they kind of want to feel included. So when things get too real, they say things that are silly. This is not a flat earth globe earth thing. This is just a when you deal with people thing. And then you guys get mad when you're talking to people who don't want to go further than they've already said they would go, or or where they're willing to go. And a different example, an example of something slightly different is when, I don't know, maybe you're arguing with your mate and you're not trying to argue, but you're not trying to be like passive. You're answering questions directly, but because they're working backwards from a conclusion, they don't want to accept what you're saying. So you begin to say, you know what? Sure. Yeah, you're right. Sure. Like, why do y'all act like people don't behave like this? And y'all let it blow a gasket.
Can I say something?
Well, are you going to answer the question?
Well, I don't know if that was direct.
Like
that was
15
directed
minutes.
at Harp in terms of him saying we're not there, we haven't been there, or however he wants to phrase it in terms of us not being, as he puts it, in the trenches. So go on, Harp, and then yes.
Yeah, but anytime Eli says something, Righteous says something after it. So
Yeah, Righteous can have that because to me that was just a load of shit. I have no Eli, whatever.
Okay. Don't rub it in. Right, go ahead.
All right, I want to talk about extremists, right? Generally in Discord, extremists is pretty well behaved, okay? He's very respectful, and even when he came here on the show, he was pretty well behaved, very respectful. We don't need to push his buttons if he's being respectful.
Totally
right?
agree.
Excuse me. Where was I not respectful for asking questions?
You were the only one who wasn't. That's why you got the floor.
I know.
My
but what-
question.
No, hang on. I'm talking to Righteous.
Everyone stop a second. We all need to calm
Wait
down.
a
We're going to scare the lamb away.
There's plenty of lambs. Trust me.
Scare the lamb away.
I didn't say anything about you,
Are you
Tan.
gonna leave? You ain't going nowhere.
No. That was great. No, Righteous, that's not what I'm addressing. I'm addressing your one statement to cover everything else. What did you just say? Repeat it again.
Well, I said extremist is pretty respectful, and if he's pretty respectful, we should be pretty respectful to him back.
Correct. And asking questions is pretty respectful. Wouldn't you agree?
I didn't say you weren't respectful.
No, wouldn't you agree? Asking questions is respectful. Wouldn't you agree?
Depends on the question.
Excuse me, just Righteous.
It can be respectful.
Did I do it? Did I do it respectfully, Righteous?
Wait a second. You can't ask me stuff like that.
Okay, then stay out of it. If you're not going to take
Oh,
a stand, Righteous, I'm tired of you
It was just
interrupting.
hold on. All he was doing was reaffirming my position, which is, he can't answer and I can. Yeah, the line's being drawn, and when it was stepped over or close to, I piped up. But no, you were perfectly respectful. I don't know what the issue is. The issue is with everyone else piling in. Like I say, it's a very delicate flower that's growing. It's easy to trample.
I'm trying to take this somewhere, Nathan. Righteous, don't be a beta male. Speak up. What am I asking you?
Look,
Can I
we're
answer?
instructing guys.
Can I defend myself?
Yes, most definitely. Yes, extremists. Go ahead.
So you asked me, and I basically said that nobody's going to, no, everybody's stubborn. Nobody's going to change their answer. We know the truth. Both sides know their truth. Okay, whatever. Nobody's going to change their answer. And I sort of took, that was my honest opinion. I was being honest. And so I sort of, to me, that's the end of the question. That's the answer to your question. That's the end of the conversation.
John changed his position based on evidence.
Here we go.
I'm sorry. He generalized. My bad. I'm sorry.
No, you're right. We're going to get him there. Exactly. If you remember, extremists, I asked you to define an angle with me, and you agreed with me. We had the same truth. Did that occur or did that not occur?
It did.
Okay, so why aren't you sharing the same? Why aren't you sharing? Why are you not sharing the same truth with me that you shared earlier then?
Hold on. I was kind of going to get there. And so we at both sides have their same viewpoint that nobody's going to concede any. Okay, so I conceded the angle, but that still doesn't change. Nobody's going to change their mind, whatever the concession are. I'll put it that way. And that was sort of my point. And to me, that's the end of the conversation. That's the way it is.
Yeah, but
and I answered your question.
Isn't the fact that you had to
Hold on,
concede...
Chocolate. Hold on. Just let 10th have him. He's getting somewhere. Go ahead, 10th.
I just want to make sure he's done first.
Well, I was going to but to me, that was the end of the conversation. I didn't really want to answer anymore. I've said that before. I don't really like to talk. I don't talk very much. I usually let everybody else do the talking. So I was kind of done. But you kept going with the conversation. And again, like you were wanting a different answer. So that's when I said, I'm giving you the answer that you want to hear.
I see. Are you finished?
I am now.
Okay. So when you say everyone has their own truth, and you and I shared a moment where our truth was the same, is that absolute?
I don't really know.
Okay, stop.
What?
For the audience, stop. Just for the audience's benefit, the truth they're talking about is acquiring vertices, acquiring two straight lines, giving you no adjacent angle being bent. That's the truth that they agreed upon that was being discussed. Go ahead, 10th or extremists, whoever decides.
I'll let him finish.
I did. I answered. I said, I don't know.
Okay, so you don't, but you knew when you agreed with me, but now you don't know? So it's not truth anymore?
Okay, sure. Yes, it's the truth.
Okay, so then it's absolute, is it not?
Yes, we've
It's
got
absolute.
that. We've got that.
No, I want him to say it, now that he said it. So truth is absolute. We both shared the one truth. Maybe we don't share other things, but the one truth we shared is that Nathan summarized very nicely there is an angle, is two straight lines meeting at a corner, creating a vertex. And you just heard him say that's truth and that's absolute. So then I went on and said, how can that work on a globe with a curved adjacent surface? And that's when he decided to bail on that truth, because the answer is devastating. And I said, fine. And I let it go because he says he's playing a game. And I don't play games with people.
I'm going to stop you. I'm going to stop you. Yes, that is correct. And that is the summary. But that is where I detect I read between the lines when he says, I don't want to get into it further. Well, I was saying this, I think it was on Ballbusters. Yeah, that's where, correct, 10th. You have indeed won. And as close to a concession you're going to get is, I don't want to get in it further than the truth that you can't have an angle unless you've got two straight lines. And I want to go beyond that. What's beyond that? I've said this already, I'm going to summarize it again. A relinquishment of his entire paradigm. You're not going to get that out of him on my show. I assure you, from past experience, he's not going to do that for us. But as good as you can get, and for the audience, you have to read between the lines, when the winning point is disclaimed, that is to say there is agreement that you can only measure an angle on a flat plane, that's the facts of the matter, it is agreed upon, then the relinquishment of the sphere is the only thing that follows. You're not going to get him to say it. I'll say it.
That's not what I was after. See, you're trying to read what I was after.
Okay.
What I'm after is the follow-up of his admission. I take it one degree at a time or one step at a time. I don't jump to the conclusion where you thought I was going to right away. It's going to come in pieces. In sales, it comes in pieces. You have conversations with people when you're trying to sell a product. You have to overcome all their objections before they buy from you. They got to like you, trust you before they buy from you. So this is where my basis is in conversation, is to find out where a person stands and then slowly get it to make sense. Now, because of that, we finally had this segment of the show where he admitted with further questioning in a polite manner from me and him that, okay, you're right, it is truth, it's absolute. Then we did not reach that when he wanted to bail earlier. We reached it afterwards. Now, what's the next step? Next step is to see if he's willing to take that truth of his and lay it on the line for his worldview.
That's what I said. My summary was exactly the same. With that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, then this is where we bid you farewell. So, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who shared the show, as that is the main reason we have a substantial live audience today, 150 odd people watching. So thank you very much indeed to all of you who did share the show. It is the reason we get people watching, so please share if you haven't done so already. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a name! What a lovely name!